Before I begin, I need to praise the people who subscribed to the channel. In the last episode, we focused on how Abu Bakr managed to control his domains and how he managed to expand them into the Levantine Mesopotamia. In this episode, we will focus on how the caliphate developed a new judiciary system, a new type of jurisprudence, and how the leaders began to change the caliphate into an empire, and how the caliphate managed to become richer and became a superpower, bigger than Byzantine emperors and Sassanid shahs. In this episode, we'll focus on how Umar managed to conquer and capture the Levant and Mesopotamia and Persia and Egypt, also parts of the Caucasus and Anatolia. We'll also focus on the changes he brought to the caliphate and the economic reforms he implemented. Umar took power in 634 after the death of his predecessor Abu Bakr at the age of 61. Umar managed to implement many reforms in his 10 years in power. One of those reforms was a new change in the judiciary and a new type of Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh in Arabic. He also managed to implement peaceful reforms and also made the economy richer and more prosperous. In 634, he reinforced the garrison in the Levant, but could not manage to reinforce the garrison within Mesopotamia, which was beginning to struggle after its skillful leader Khalid ibn al-Walid retreated to Syria. Umar, however, was really conservative and managed to fire many generals, including Khalid ibn al-Walid, who had been blocking his dream of an Islamic type of empire. He implemented many reforms in his 10 years in power. One of those reforms was fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence. He also managed to implement economic reforms, managed to make the Rashidun Caliphate a haven for Byzantine traders and Sassanid traders who had been persecuted in the 600s. So, after Abu Bakr died, Umar took over. He ruled for 10 years. In those 10 years, he managed to overcome the power of the Sassanids and the Byzantines, as well as isolate many Sassanid lands in India and isolate many Byzantine lands in North Africa. In 635, he reinforced the Arabs in Iraq, and they managed in a year later with a detachment of 36,000 men to conquer Ctesiphon, the capital of the Sassanid Empire. Since then, the Sassanids have been in decline. They retreated to the Far East in India, and their Shah died. Meanwhile, the Byzantine Empire managed to survive for a couple hundred years, but it lost the Levant, Egypt, and decades later, after Umar, they managed to lose North Africa. In that time, the Byzantines had been in slow decline. However, they managed to fend off raids into Anatolia and in Christian Armenia. Meanwhile, northwards, the Islamic Empire had to fight off the Khazars. We will focus on the wars between them and the Khazars in the next episodes. After he managed to defeat the superpowers of the Middle East, he consolidated power within the hands of the Shura, an electoral committee which he had created to choose the next caliph. In this Shura, he managed to implement laws such as the new Islamic jurisprudence, the Arabic word fiqh, and new economic reforms such as benefits to the poor. He was also very keen on expanding his views of economic prosperity to the lands of the Sassanids and the Byzantines. He issued free trade, which made many Byzantine and Sassanid traders want to come to the Rashidun Caliphate for trade reasons. This is to the fact that they had captured Egypt and the Levant, which had resources and were a haven for many traders at the time. He had also managed to capture prosperous lands in the south of Arabia, which attracted many traders. He was a political genius, a military strategist, and a powerful thinker. In 639, he made one of his most powerful military decisions to stop the raiding of Persian lands. Up to this time, he had been focusing on Sassanid Persia. Now he set his eyes on Egypt. After the Battle of Heliopolis in 642, the whole of Egypt had gone under from Byzantine rule to being in the hands of the Rashidun Caliphate. One of his most powerful military and peaceful thinkings was a peaceful conquest of Jerusalem. In 639, the Patriarch of Jerusalem surrendered the city to Omar, and Omar humbly entered the city. He signed a treaty which significantly allowed many religions and minorities to coexist in the city. It lies today in the east of Jerusalem, in the old city near the Holy Sepulchre. He gave the Christians, Jews, and other minorities peace and agreed that they could have sovereignty over their lands and belongings. However, to the east, Sassanids could not stop raiding the Muslim lands. So, in 642, many Muslim warlords raided Khuzestan, a region of strategic importance to the Sassanid Empire. After that, they had had a conflict with the Sassanids at Nahavand, which was a battle within the town of Nahavand in central Persia. After this battle, the Sassanids lost their. Well, this leaves us with one question: how did the Byzantine Empire and the Sassanid Empire react? Well, the Byzantine Empire, fearing its demise, stopped raiding the lands of the Levant. However, the Sassanids made constant raids in an effort to regain Mesopotamia. We'll see in this episode that Omar wanted peace with the Sassanids. However, the Sassanids raided the Mesopotamian lands, which broke the peace and made constant efforts by the Muslims to conquer Persia. In the 630s and the 640s, after the conquest of Mesopotamia, two bases were set in Mesopotamia, Basra and Kufa. These acted as bases for future attacks on the Sassanid Empire if it broke peace records and peace treaties. In 642, the Caliphate defeated the Sassanids at the Battle of Nahavand and marched on Fars, Azerbaijan, and lands owned in Persia, which were owned by the Sassanid Empire. In 651, 7 years after Umar's death, the Muslims had controlled all of Persia and raided parts of Sassanid-owned India. After that, they had been constantly fighting with the Byzantine Empire. However, fighting the Byzantines had been a problem. There was no navy, and supplies were outstretched in Byzantine-controlled Anatolia. As well, they couldn't control most of the lands in Anatolia that they had conquered due to the large mass and due to them not knowing the geopolitics and the information about the region. Omar issued a governance system. The governance system was to be run like this. Each province would have a wali, a town or small city or district within the wilaya, the Arabic word for province, would have an amir or a amil, a worker who would work for the government and for the local governorate. By 644, when Omar died, there were 13 provinces and over 100 wilayat and districts within the Rashidun Caliphate. For Kufa and Basra, he declared Mughira ibn Shu'bah as an influential leader of Kufa, as well as Abu Musa al-Ash'ari as the governor of Basra. Well, in 644, at the height of his powers, Umar was killed by a disaffected Persian slave who was a veteran of the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah and the Battle of Nahawand. His name was Piruz Nahavandi. He is venerated in Shia countries across the world for his role in killing the second caliph. In 644, on his deathbed, he ordered the founding of a shura, an electoral committee which would declare the new caliph, and he ordered that between 5 or 6 candidates should stand as the next caliph. Talha, Zubair, Uthman, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, and Ali. The next caliph who will be chosen amongst those 5 would be Uthman, a person who we will focus on the next episode.